Evan Carter stood in the center of a wide, glowing arena. Circles of ancient energy floated around him like slow-moving planets. Above him, a glass dome opened to the purple Valorian sky. The air felt warm, but Evan's body felt cold from fear. He had been told one thing: to complete the law of union. You must pass the trial of hearts. He still didn't even understand what the trial was. The 7 royal sisters stood on a high balcony, watching him. They were not only judges, they were part of the test. The high matriarch raised her hand. Begin. The ground shook. A soft blue light formed into a floating screen. Words appeared in the alien language, but Evan somehow understood them. The room had energy that connected thoughts. The first trial was revealed. Trial 1. Courage of the heart, face fear without running. Oh great, Evan whispered. What fear? A loud roar answered him. The arena floor opened and a massive creature climbed out. It had 4 arms, glowing eyes, and sharp plates along its spine. It looked like a nightmare made of stone and fire. Myra giggled from the balcony. He's cute, actually. Cute. Evan shouted. Vex grinned. This beast is used to test warriors. If you survive, maybe you are not completely weak. Arya warned, do not kill it. Defeat it with willpower, not violence. Evan gulped. I don't even have a weapon. The beast charged. Evan remembered the rule. Do not run. He slid to a stop, turned, and faced the creature. His legs felt like jelly, but he forced himself to stand tall. The creature roared inches from his face. Hot air blasting across him. Evan didn't move. His heart beat loud. His knees shook. But he stood like a statue. The beast slowly lowered its head, sniffed him, then stepped back. It let out a low sound, almost like respect. Then it walked back into the floor as the stone closed behind it. Mira clapped. He passed. Humans are interesting. Vexa crossed her arms. Annoyed, the glowing screen reformed. Trial 2. Truth of the heart, speak honestly when tested. NYRA floated down from the balcony. Landing softly in front of Evan, her calm eyes stared deep into him. Evan Carter, tell me. Do you wish to leave Valoria? Yes, Evan said before he could think. Naira blinked once. Do you fear us? Yes. Do you think any of us want this marriage? Probably not. Naira smiled slightly. Honesty. Even painful honesty. You pass. Evan breathed out. One more trial done. The screen glowed again. Trial 3. Loyalty of the heart, protect what is not yours. Suddenly, the youngest sister, Leah, appeared beside him. She looked nervous, holding a small glowing orb. This is my life gem, she whispered. If it breaks, I am harmed. You must protect it. The arena darkened. Shadow creatures formed within, floating shapes with sharp arms. They rushed toward Leah. Evan grabbed her arm and pulled her behind him. I'll protect you, but you have no weapon. Leah cried. Evan grabbed a nearby fallen metal shard, small, but sharp enough. Every time a shadow lunged, he swung, cutting through the darkness. The shadows kept coming, faster, stronger, surrounding them both. Leah trembled. We won't survive. Yes, we will, Evan said, voice shaking but firm. I won't let them touch you. A shadow slipped behind him and slashed his shoulder. Evan cried out but didn't fall. He stood in front of Leah like a human shield. Finally, a bright flash filled the arena. The shadows dissolved. Leah touched his injured shoulder gently. You passed, she whispered. You protected me when you had nothing. The balcony erupted with whispers. Arya nodded slowly. Naira watched with new interest. Mira smiled proudly. Zali studied him like a puzzle. Vexa still looked angry. Rhea showed no emotion at all. But something strange happened right then. A small device fell from the shadows, tiny, metallic, glowing red. Zali's eyes narrowed. She jumped down and picked it up. "This is not part of the test," she said. Someone interfered. Someone wanted him to fail. The matriarch stepped forward, face dark. "Who dares sabotage the sacred trials?" The sisters exchanged suspicious looks. Vexa glared at Evan. "Maybe your human tricks. It isn't his tech." Zali interrupted. "This belongs to someone inside this palace." Leah gasped softly. "Someone wants the trial broken. Someone wants Evan to fail." Evan felt his stomach twist. He looked at the 7 sisters. One of them wanted him gone. The matriarch pointed at the glowing screen again. "There is one final test today." The arena lights turned blood red. Evan's heartbeat quickened. Trial 4. Heart of trust. Choose one sister to stand by your side. If you choose wrong, the trial ends in disaster. Evan stared at the sisters. One would help him. One would betray him. The wrong choice could end his life. He swallowed hard. Evan Carter stood in the glowing arena. The words "heart of trust" shining above him like a warning from fate. He had to choose one sister to stand beside him for the final test of the day. If he chose wrong, someone would die. Maybe him. The 7 sisters watched from the balcony. Their faces told different stories: strength, curiosity, fear, anger, mystery. Behind them, the high matriarch waited silently, like a judge deciding the future of 2 worlds. Evan's heart pounded. Which sister could he trust? He looked at Leia first, the youngest. She had been kind to him. She even risked her safety during the shadow attack. But maybe that was exactly why choosing her was dangerous. If the enemy targeted her, she could be the first to suffer. Then he looked at Arya, the eldest. Strong, controlled, always thinking about duty above emotion. If someone was a traitor, surely it wouldn't be her, right? Mira smiled softly at him, her playful eyes full of hope. Zali observed him, silent and suspicious. Naira remained calm, unreadable. Vexa. He didn't even dare look at Vexa for too long. Her anger burned like fire. And Rhea? She stood in the back, cold and distant, never speaking unless forced. Evan breathed slowly. He needed someone who had shown truth, someone who had shown loyalty, someone who did not try to sabotage him. After a moment of silence, he lifted his hand. "I choose." "Naira," he said. NYR raised an eyebrow. "Me? You were honest with me," Evan said. "You told me about your laws. You didn't try to scare me or trick me. You acted fair." Arya nodded slightly in approval. Leah looked relieved. Vexa rolled her eyes. Rhea's expression did not change. Nira floated down beside him. "Very well, human. Let us face the final trial." The arena floor shifted again, opening into a giant maze made of floating crystal walls. Strange lights shimmered between them like illusions. The screen changed its message. Final trial of the day. Path of shadows. Find the Heartstone. Avoid the enemy. Trust your partner. Naira placed her hand gently on Evan's arm. Stay close. This maze changes every minute. They stepped inside. The maze was alive. Walls moved like sliding mirrors. Lights turned into sudden bursts of fog. The air felt heavy, as if something invisible watched them dot. Evan whispered, "Do you think someone is inside here?" Naira's eyes glowed faintly. "Yes. I sensed sabotage earlier. The same person might try again." They walked slowly, turning corners that were never the same. Evan nearly walked into a wall that wasn't there a second ago. Finally, they reached a fork. 2 paths, both dark. Naira closed her eyes. One of these paths leads to the Heartstone. The other leads to a trap. Evan studied the two tunnels. The one on the left had strange markings. The one on the right felt colder. Before he could decide, a whisper echoed through the maze. Turn back. Human. Naira grabbed his wrist tightly. That voice isn't from Valoria. Something moved in the shadows. A figure, slim, fast, glowing red. Not a sister. Not a Vlorian, an intruder. Evan tried to see clearly. What is that? Enemy spy, Naira whispered. Someone from the rival empire. They want the marriage destroyed. The spy stepped closer. You must fail, human. The union cannot be allowed. If Valoria binds to your kind, we will lose the war before it begins. War. Evan felt his chest tightened on Myra pushed him backward. Run. The spy fired a beam of red energy. Evan ducked, the shot burning a hole through a crystal wall. The maze shook violently, reacting to the attack. Evan and Naira sprinted through the right tunnel. The maze walls moved faster, twisting around them like a giant puzzle. The spy chased them, each step glowing brighter. Naira? Evan shouted. Where do we go? Forward. She yelled. The Heartstone is close. They turned one last corner. There it was, a glowing white stone floating above a pedestal. Beating like a real heart. The screen above the arena flashed, touched together. Trust as one. Evan grabbed Naira's hand. Ready? She squeezed his fingers. Yes. Together they reached out, but the spy appeared again. Leaping toward the Heartstone with a weapon raised, Evan acted without thinking. He pulled Naira behind him and shielded her. With his body, the spy's weapon struck Evan's back. A sharp pain tore through him. He gasped but didn't fall. In that instant, Naira grabbed the Heartstone. A powerful white light exploded outward. Throwing the spy across the maze and sealing the ground, Evan collapsed on his knees. Naira caught him. You foolish human. You protected me again. The maze dissolved, and the matriarch appeared with the other sisters. Arya looked shocked. Vexa looked furious. Laya cried. Zali studied Evan intensely. Rhea simply stared, unreadable. The matriarch spoke. This injury proves your sincerity. But it also proves something darker. The enemy is already inside our borders. Evan groaned, holding his shoulder. The matriarch's face grew cold. There is a traitor close to us. Perhaps among the seven. All seven sisters froze. Evan looked around, their eyes. Their reactions. Evan Carter, a young human explorer, stepped out of the silver shuttle and looked around the alien world of Valoria. The sky was a strange, deep blue, almost glowing like a jewel. The ground felt soft, the wind smelled sweet, and everything around him looked peaceful. But Evan did not know that in the next few minutes, his life would change forever. He had come to Valoria for a simple cultural exchange. His mission was not dangerous. He was just supposed to meet the royal family, learn about their customs, and return home. That's what he believed. That's what everyone told him. But nobody warned him about the law of union, the most sacred rule of Valoria. As Evan entered the grand hall, hundreds of alien eyes turned toward him. The hall was full of shining lights, floating ribbons of energy, and soft music. The people of Valoria were tall, elegant, and had glowing marks on their skin. They looked beautiful and slightly intimidating. The center of the hall stood the seven royal sisters. Each sister wore a different color, and each had a different style and presence. But Evan's eyes first landed on the youngest, Leah. She was small, gentle-looking, and her glowing markings were soft and warm. She smiled at him shyly. Evan smiled back. In his culture, a simple, friendly gesture was normal. He had read in a travel guide that Valorians appreciated warmth and kindness. So, without thinking, he stepped forward, gently took Leah's hand, and placed a small, respectful kiss on her forehead. The hall went silent. Completely silent. Every musician stopped playing. Every guard raised his head. Every sister froze. Even Leah's smile disappeared. Evan looked around, confused. "What happened?" he whispered. But nobody answered. The eldest sister, Arya, took a step forward. Her eyes were sharp like crystals, and her expression turned serious. The second sister, Vexa, reached for her weapon. Nira closed her eyes as if she already knew what this meant. Mira covered her mouth in shock. Zali and Rhea whispered to each other urgently. Laya stood completely still, her cheeks turning bright red. She knew what the kiss meant, Evan did not. Two guards moved quickly toward him, holding long spears glowing with blue fire. "Hey, wait. What did I do?" "It was just a friendly kiss," Evan said, raising his hands. The entire room gasped, "A friendly kiss." On Valoria, there was no such thing. The High Matriarch, the mother of the 7 sisters, slowly walked forward. Her steps were silent, but the power she carried filled the room like heavy air. Her eyes glowed with ancient knowledge and strict authority. She looked at Evan as if he had done something unbelievable. Then she spoke in a calm, but powerful voice, human. "You kissed our youngest daughter. By our ancient law, this act is a sacred promise. You must now marry all 7 sisters." Evan's heart almost stopped. "What? No, there must be a misunderstanding." "I didn't know silence," the matriarch said. The guards took a step closer. Evan felt sweat on his forehead. His legs shook. His mind tried to catch up with the situation. Marry all 7 sisters. From one small kiss. Why all 7? Why not just lie? Why a marriage at all? The matriarch continued. "A kiss to the youngest means a bond to the entire sisterhood. It is the law that protects our royal line and our planet. It cannot be broken." The 6 older sisters stared at him with different emotions: gargar, confusion, curiosity, even fear. Leah looked down, unable to meet his eyes. Evan tried to breathe slowly. "There must be some other way," he whispered, but the guards grabbed his arms. "You will be taken," Arya said, "to prepare for decision night. There, your fate will be judged." Decision night. Fate. Marriage to 7 alien sisters. Evan felt like he had stepped into a dream. No, a nightmare. The hall doors opened with a loud echo, and the guards pushed him forward, dragging him out of the room as the doors closed behind him. He heard one of the sisters whisper, "If he refuses the bond, our planet will fall into chaos." Evan didn't know what that meant. He didn't know why his small kiss had caused such panic. He didn't know what decision night was, but he did know one thing. His life would never be the same again. Evan Carter sat inside a bright crystal cell, his hands shaking. The walls around him felt alive, pulsing with soft blue light, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. He tried touching the surface, but it was warm and smooth. Impossible to break. He had been locked here for almost an hour. Yet his mind still repeated the same question. How can one kiss mean marriage to 7 sisters? A door opened slowly, humming like a wind instrument. A tall figure entered Nira, the 3rd sister. Her movements were calm, her face quiet, but her eyes sharp enough to read every thought in Evan's troubled mind. She stood in front of the crystal cell. "You do not understand the law," she said softly. "Of course I don't." Evan replied, "I didn't even know the law existed." Nira looked almost sorry for him. On Valoria, a kiss is not a greeting. It is a bond, a promise, a vow of unity. Evan rubbed his face. It was just respect. just a friendly gesture. But to us, Naira continued, a kiss to the youngest daughter means you are ready to join our entire sisterhood. The youngest symbolizes purity. If you accept her, you accept all. Evan felt dizzy. So, you're telling me your whole planet follows this rule? Naira nodded. For thousands of years. She touched a glowing crystal panel and the cell dissolved like mist. Evan stepped out carefully, still unsure if he could trust her. NYRA signaled him to follow. They walked through a long hallway filled with ancient carving symbols of past rulers, star systems, and strange winged beasts. Evan realized Valoria was not just beautiful. It was old, much older than Earth's civilizations. They reached a door with 7 shining circles. Naira placed her hand on the center circle before the doors opened. She turned to Evan and said, "Whatever you see inside, remember, you created this bond. You cannot undo it easily." The doors opened. Inside was a massive room shaped like a star. The remaining 6 sisters stood around a huge glowing table made of pure energy. The eldest sister, Arya, glared at Evan the moment he entered. "You finally brought him," she said to Nair. Evan swallowed hard. The atmosphere felt heavy. 6 pairs of glowing eyes followed his every movement. Arya spoke coldly. "Human, you broke a law older than your entire species." Evan raised his hands. "I swear I didn't know. It was a misunderstanding." On Valoria, Arya replied, "Ignorance does not save you from consequences." Vexa punched her fist into her hand. "We should send him back to his planet in pieces. It would avoid the bond." Amira gasped. "Vexa, that's too much." Vexa snarled. "He touched Leah. He touched our sister. He must answer." Evan felt sweat roll down his neck. Leah, the youngest, finally stepped forward. Her voice was soft. It wasn't his fault. He didn't know our customs. He didn't mean to promise anything. Arya's eyes softened a little, but only a little. The High Matriarch entered the room, and everyone bowed. Even Evan felt the need to lower his head. Her power filled the air like gravity. She began to speak. "Human, you have invoked the law of union. Once invoked, it cannot be ignored. But there are 2 paths." Evan held his breath. "First option," the matriarch continued, "you accept the marriage. You become bound to all 7 daughters. You become part of the royal bloodline, responsible for our traditions and protection." Evan blinked fast. "Me? Part of the royal family?" He almost laughed, but stopped himself. "And the second option?" he asked carefully. The matriarch's eyes darkened. "Refusal." The air grew colder. "If you refuse the bond, our ancient treaty breaks. The unity of our planet collapses. Neighboring worlds will declare war on Valoria. Many will die." Evan felt the weight of her words. One kiss, one mistake. And now an entire planet's fate was tied to him. "But why?" Evan asked. "Why would my refusal cause war?" Naira answered from behind him. "Because the law of union is more than marriage. It represents the bond between species, a promise of peace. If the promise breaks, our enemies will see it as weakness." Arya stepped toward Evan. "Your choice will decide our future." Evan looked at the 7 sisters. Leah's eyes were filled with worry. Mira looked hopeful. Naira, unreadable. Zayli analyzing him carefully. Rhea standing away, emotionless. Vexa ready to fight. And Arya, hard as stone, but slightly softened by responsibility. He whispered, "I never wanted this." The matriarch replied calmly, "Want has nothing to do with destiny." The lights dimmed. The ground glowed beneath Evan's feet. A circle of symbols surrounded him. "This," the matriarch said, "is the beginning of trial of hearts. If you pass, the bond stands. If you fail, Her voice dropped into silence. Evan Carter woke up slowly, his vision blurry. Soft golden lights floated above him like tiny fireflies. He blinked, trying to remember where he was. Pain shot through his back, reminding him of the enemy spy's attack. He sat up with a sharp breath. He was inside a warm, round healing chamber. Glowing vines wrapped around the walls, and gentle waves of light pulsed over his wounds. Closing them little by little, someone sat beside him. It was Leah, the youngest sister. Her head was bowed, her fingers nervously twisting together. She looked small and fragile, nothing like the powerful sisters who commanded armies and storms. But there was something in her eyes today, something deeper, older. "Evan," she whispered, voice trembling. "You should not have protected me like that." Evan tried to smile. "I didn't have time to think. It just happened." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with both fear and sadness. "You risked your life for me." Twice, he nodded softly. "I couldn't let anything happen to you." Lia's cheeks turned slightly pink. Then she looked away, struggling to hold back tears. "You don't understand, Evan, my life. It's not simple." Evan frowned. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath, as if preparing to reveal a heavy truth. "Do you know why the law of union begins with the youngest sister?" She asked. Evan shook his head. Leah placed her hand over her heart. "Because the youngest carries the heart of Valoria." Evan blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means," she whispered, "that my life is tied to the life of this planet. If I die, Valoria dies. If I weaken, our star weakens. I am not only a princess. I am the living key to our world." Evan stared at her, shocked. "So the attack in the maze. That spy wasn't just trying to ruin the trial. They were trying to kill you?" Lia nodded. "And if they succeed, Valoria will fall. Our enemies know this." Evan's stomach tightened. The danger was far greater than he imagined. Lia wiped her eyes and continued. "There is more. Something my sisters do not know yet. Something even my mother fears." Evan leaned forward. "What is it?" Leah hesitated. Then she whispered a single word. "Prophecy." A cold wind seemed to pass through the healing chamber. "Prophecy," Evan repeated. "About what?" She stood up and walked to a glowing crystal pillar. Her hand touched the surface, and an ancient hologram appeared, an image of a human-like figure surrounded by 7 stars. "This prophecy was written before any of us were born," Leah said. "It speaks of a traveler from a distant world, a person who carries a strange energy, an energy that can either save Valoria or destroy it." Evan stared at the hologram, chills running over his skin. "A human." He whispered. Lia nodded. "Yes, a human." She turned to him, her voice soft but steady. "When you kissed me, the palace stones reacted. The energy of Valoria recognized something inside you, something ancient, something powerful." My life gem glowed for the first time in 20 years. Evan barely breathed. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Lia whispered, "that you might be the traveler from the prophecy." Evan's heartbeat thundered in his ears. "I'm just a normal guy," he said. "I'm not a hero. I'm not a chosen one." Lia walked closer, her eyes shining. "No, Evan. You fought a living beast without weapons. You spoke truth when truth was painful. You protected me with your own body. And you survived an energy strike that should have killed you." She touched his chest lightly. "There is something inside you. Something strong. Something Valoria has been waiting for." Evan swallowed hard. If this was true, everything changed: his mission, his life, his role in this strange world. Leah looked down, her voice trembling again. "And there is something else," she said. "Something personal." Evan tilted his head. "What is it?" "When you kissed me," she whispered, "I saw a vision." Evan's breath caught. A vision of what? Laia closed her eyes. 7 lights, 1 human, a union that creates a new power. A light strong enough to heal our dying star. I saw us together saving Valoria. Evan stared at her silently, unable to process it. Laia continued, "You think your kiss was a mistake? But maybe it was destiny." Before Evan could answer, the chamber doors burst open. Arya stormed inside. Her face was pale, her eyes full of fear. "Laia." "Evan, you must come at once." Evan stood quickly. "What happened?" Arya's voice shook. "The enemy fleet has entered our star system. They know about the prophecy, and they are coming to kill the human." Evan felt a cold wave wash over him. Leah grabbed his hand. "Evan, this is just the beginning." The ground shook beneath Evan's feet as red warning lights flashed across the Valorian sky. Alarms echoed from every tower of the royal palace. The soft, peaceful garden from moments ago now felt like the calm before a storm. Laia held Evan's hand tightly. "They came faster than we expected," she whispered. "The enemy must have known you were injured. They want to capture you before the union can happen." Evan stared at the sky. Large black shapes appeared in Nomi warships, slicing through the atmosphere like giant knives. Their engines glowed in angry red, and their shadows fell across the palace like a spreading doom. Evan's voice trembled. "They're coming because of me." Laia nodded. "They fear the prophecy. If you bond with the 7 sisters, the soul link becomes stronger, strong enough to save our dying son. But if they take you, Valoria will fall." Yvain took a deep breath. "So we fight." Lie squeezed his hand. "You won't fight alone." The garden floor lit up as 6 figures rushed in. Arya, Vexa, Nyra, Mira, Zali. And Rhea, they formed a protective circle around Evan and Leah. Arya pointed at the sky. "Enemy dropships are landing outside the palace gates. Everyone prepare." Vexa cracked her knuckles. "Finally." I wanted something to punch. Mira bounced on her feet, nervous but excited. "This is bad. But also kind of fun." Zali adjusted her glowing wrist device. "I sense for infiltration squads. Someone is guiding them directly toward Evan." Rhea spoke softly, her tone colder than the others. "They know where he is. Someone is feeding them information. A traitor, still hiding." But there was no time to search. The palace shook as enemy soldiers landed on the outer walls and began blasting through the barriers. Arya raised her arm. "Sisters, protect the human at all costs." Light exploded around them as the 7 royal sisters activated their powers. Laia's glow turned soft and golden. Arya's aura sharpened like crystal blades. Nira's calm energy flowed like water. Vexa burned with red fire. Myra projected shields of shimmering light. Zali created floating blue screens full of tactical data. Rhea's shadowy aura darkened the ground beneath her feet. Evan had never seen anything like it. They weren't just sisters. They were a force. The battle begins in Nomi. Soldiers stormed through the broken gates armored, masked, and carrying plasma weapons. Their leader shouted, "Capture the human. Avoid harming the princesses unless necessary." Vexa roared, "Over my dead body." She charged forward with flaming fists, punching through armor like it was paper. Myra created large, transparent shields, blocking enemy fire. Laser bolts bounced harmlessly off her barriers. Nyra spread her arms, releasing calming blue waves that confused the enemy soldiers and slowed their movements. Zali called out data. 3 enemies behind the left tower. 2 approaching from the garden path. Arya sliced through the air with her crystal blades. every strike precise and deadly. Rhea stayed behind, watching, her expression unreadable. Evan stayed close too, Leah, as she used her power to heal injured sisters and strengthen their abilities. But then, a huge explosion ripped through the courtyard. Smoke and debris shot into the sky. Enemy soldiers advanced through the smoke. And behind them walked a tall, armored figure with glowing red eyes. Leah whispered in fear. That's their commander. General Kor. He is the one who started the war. Kor pointed at Evan. There he is. The human? Bring him to me, alive. Evan stepped back, but Arya and Vexa moved in front of him. You will not touch him. Arya shouted. Kor laughed. You think I fear 7 daughters of a dying world? The human belongs to us. The prophecy ends today. He raised his hand, sending a massive blast of red energy toward them, before anyone could react. Evan instinctively stepped forward. Evan, no. Leah shouted, but something unexpected happened. The moment the red blast touched Evan's chest, it split into 2 streams, one going left, one going right, completely missing all of them. Evan staggered back, shocked. What? What just happened? Zali gasped. That energy should have killed you. How did you redirect it? Evan shook his head. I don't know. I didn't do anything. Leah stared at him with wide eyes. No, Evan. You did do something. Her voice trembled. The soul link inside me reacted. It protected you. Through you. Kor growled. So the human has awakened. This makes him even more dangerous. Arya looked at Evan with new respect and fear. Evan, she said, your power is connected to Leah's life force. If you grow stronger, Valoria grows stronger. Evan swallowed hard. So I really am part of the prophecy. Kor raised his weapon again. Then I must kill you before the power spreads. He charged forward. The sisters gathered around Evan in a tight circle, ready to defend him with everything they had. But Rhea stepped back instead of forward. Arya yelled, Rhea, form the circle. Rhea didn't move. She watched the enemy commander with cold eyes and raised her hand. A glowing signal flashed from her palm straight toward the enemy ships. Evan's heart dropped. The moment Rhea lifted her hand and sent the glowing signal to the enemy ships, the entire battlefield froze. Arya's eyes widened. You betrayed us. Vexa growled like thunder. I knew something about you felt wrong. Kea didn't look guilty. She looked calm, almost sad. You don't understand, she said softly. This is the only way to save Valoria, by helping our enemy. Arya shouted. Rhea shook her head. I am not helping them. I am stopping what will come next. The prophecy is dangerous. The human's power, it grows too quickly. If Evan completes the union, his connection to Leah will awaken a force Valoria cannot control. Evan stepped forward, still shocked. You think I'm dangerous? Rhea turned to him, her eyes filled with a strange mixture of fear and respect. You don't see it yet, but your presence changes the soul link. Leah grows stronger, too strong. If she becomes overwhelmed by the energy, the world will burn from the inside. Leah grabbed Evan's arm. That's not true. The prophecy said. Rhea cut her off. Prophecies can be misread. Power can be misunderstood. Kor, the enemy commander, laughed loudly. How lovely. The sisters argue while the human trembles. But Evan wasn't trembling anymore. For the first time, he wasn't confused or afraid. He looked at Rhea and understood. You're not evil, he said quietly. You're scared? Rhea's eyes softened for one moment. Valoria is my home. I won't let anything destroy it. You are destroying it, Arya snapped. You led our enemies here. Kor aimed his weapon. Enough talking. The human dies now. He fired a massive red beam straight at Evan. Leia screamed. Evan. But Evan didn't move. Something inside him, like a pulse from the universe itself, wakened. The beam hit him and dissolved into sparks of light. Everyone froze. What? What was that? Myra whispered. Evan's chest glowed with the same golden energy as Leia's soul link. Leia gasped. The bond is awakening. Nyra stepped back, shocked. He's absorbing energy. Redirecting it, controlling it. Evan didn't understand any of this, but he felt the power warm, protective. Alive, he looked at Kor. This is over. Evan lifted his hand, and a wave of golden light shot outward, knocking the commander off his feet and disabling half the enemy soldiers instantly. Arya whispered. So the prophecy was true. He is the light-bearer. Kea stared at Evan in disbelief. I tried to stop this, but it has already begun. For the first time, she looked unsure. Kor struggled to stand. You think you can win, my fleet? But before he could finish, the glowing golden light in Evan's chest spread outward, forming a massive protective shield over the palace. Enemy ships fired again and again, but the blasts vanished against the shield. Valoria was protected. The golden light began to fade, and Evan collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Leia rushed to him and held his shoulders. Evan, are you okay? He nodded weakly. I think so. Just tired. Arya stepped closer, her voice soft for the first time. You saved our world. Rhea lowered her gaze, ashamed. I misjudged the prophecy. I thought your power would bring destruction. But it brought protection. Evan struggled to stand. Rhea, you're trying to save your home. I understand. But from now on, trust us even if the future is unclear. Rhea nodded slowly, tears forming in her eyes. Kor, wounded and defeated, activated his recall device. This is not the end, human. You will see me again. He vanished in a burst of red light. The battlefield fell silent. The High Matriarch descended from the palace steps. Her eyes filled with pride and relief. Evan Carter, she said, today you proved your heart is worthy. The union may now begin. The 7 sisters formed a circle around Evan. They lifted their hands, and beams of colored light joined together above them. Leia placed her hand over Evan's heart. In this union, we share strength, loyalty, and life. You stand with us, and we stand with you. Evan nodded. I accept. The lights merged, and a warm surge of energy flowed through all 8 of them. Valoria's sky glowed brighter, its dying sun stabilizing for the first time in decades. When the ritual ended, the matriarch spoke softly. The human has changed us, and he will change the galaxy. Evan looked at the 7 sisters, each different, each powerful, each connected to him now in a way deeper than he ever imagined, and high above the clouds. A dark shape watched silently, recording everything.